Welcome back to another round of the MXP San Francisco Modern 20K Headliner. I am Niall Joan Rivers. With me in the booth today is Jerry Thompson. Jerry, I really had a great time with the first round that we were commentating just then. I am excited to get into some more Magic. I think that our game is ready, so we're going to head down there.
It's going to be hard to beat that last one where we got kind of like some old favorites and a new take on, I guess, cult favorite in Mill, and Mill moving on to 5-0. Gotta love to see that. And now, Yawgmoth, that's kind of spicy. It is one of the better decks. I'm sure a lot of people would say the best deck in Modern currently. But we are playing against Mono White Martyr, which is not a thing we see a ton of.
Yeah, not a thing we see a ton of. Definitely excited to see Yogg up here in the 5-0 bracket, piloted by Jennifer Wang here, and then Michael Mitchell on the Mono White Martyr. Not sure who won the die roll there. We are resolving our mulligans. What are your thoughts on this matchup in general, Jerry?
Honestly, I kind of have no idea. The Martyr deck is so strange, and there are a lot of different ways that it can play out. Like
Sure.
sometimes they can just kill all of your creatures, grind you out with like the One Ring, but sometimes it is just about them doing the life gain thing and trying to hope that that is good enough. I feel like Yogg basically has the tools to kind of deal with this sort of thing, but they're going to have to grind through a lot of interaction to get to that point.
Yeah, definitely they are. I mean, there are some tools to deal with some of the recursive elements of the deck for sure. And of course, with Yogg, you can always just hit one of your infinite kill you combos. So very excited to see how this sort of plays out. It looks like we have Michael Mitchell on Martyr on the play here. Going turn one, I think that is a Martyr.
It is a Martyr. The beatdown begins.
The beatdown does begin.
On the Young Wolf scale, where do you place Martyr Sands?
Don't ask me about Martyr Sands.
I think
That is.
we will both agree that it's below Young Wolf.
Sure. But I think I probably put too many creatures below Young Wolf.
Likely. But, we're in agreement on this one at least.
Yeah.
And it is Young Wolf against Martyr, so.
Right, and turn one for Jennifer, she is going to fetch a land, get a Gilded Goose onto the field.
The goose is officially loose.
This is loose. We're getting confirmation from our producers. The goose is loose.
It is the fun of one of in the Yogg deck, like the 5th 1-drop mana accelerator that doesn't die to Orcish Bowmasters, but
yeah.
Jennifer also does have one Ignoble Hawk too, so kind of splitting the difference there.
Yeah, we're gonna see a Takenuma as Jennifer's land for turn. We see a couple halflings, a cord. I think that is a Young Wolf in hand as well. And we're going to get both halflings out.
Very awkward. Did you see the cost of trying to play the things that don't die to Bowmasters, where Jennifer could have deployed a halfling on turn one, but didn't have enough green mana to actually play out the other mana creatures, so she needed to play the goose, but now the food is gone, so the goose isn't doing anything on this turn, but it's still a body for Court of Calling and everything. Just ends up being a little bit awkward.
Yeah, and that turn went by very quickly. I think, did Michael miss his third land drop?
Yeah, I had to cycle Eagles of the North to get the second land, and just missed land 3.
Yeah, and Young Wolf is going to come down. And we are going to see a Catacombs, I believe, for Jennifer here. And she is going to pass. This is holding up X equals 3 Court of Calling.
Yep, kind of interesting where Now maybe when you crack the Verdant Catacombs, Michael could interact and kill one of your creatures in response.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it doesn't look like that's happening. So, uh, safe to say that Grist is like the pretty normal chord play here. Yeah, but
Yeah, oh yeah, I mean, what a card.
Jennifer instead opted to use Underground Mortuary, I believe is the name. Yeah, of
Mm-hmm.
the Surveil land.
Yep, going to Surveil. Looks like land on the top there. She's gonna go ahead and bin it. Maybe saving that cord for a Yawgmoth, which I think she just drew.
Yeah, I guess 2 chords in hand along with the Blood Artist. It's like you could do the Grist stuff and settle in for a longer game and try and do the value stuff, but it's like you have the kill rolled up. Why not just do that instead?
Yeah, I think especially with Michael seeing these land drops, you don't really need to set up for that sort of thing. Look, she is gonna go for the cord. It is gonna get reprieved. Now looks like a great time to take care of that Martyr of Sands, though, as Michael is fully tapped out.
Yeah, if you care, I don't know.
Sure,
I could even see just sticking with the same game plan.
sure. Well, if you're gonna be yogging either way,
Yeah.
we are gonna see the cord for 4, get Yawgmoth onto the field.
Four things to sacrifice, basically 5. You count the Young Wolf Undying.
Yep, she is gonna go ahead and get rid of the Martyr, or attempt to. Looks like a Solitude coming down in response.
In response to the Undying trigger, so Young Wolf technically still in the graveyard. Then you have to make a decision of like, do I want to actually sacrifice any more of my board position? And given that you have backup cord in hand, I guess the answer is no.
Yeah, and looks like a Patra. I think that's Honest Rusting, Soul Cauldron, Cord, Blood Artist. Like, quite the hand for Jennifer.
Yeah, all the weirdos, but I think the weirdos matter in this matchup. And it's
Yeah,
kind of nice to
definitely.
actually just draw them naturally.
Hmm. Yep, and there's the new OTJ card, Honest Rusting. Making your creature spells cheaper.
I
Getting
feel like
creatures back from your graveyard.
I feel like anyone who has to call themselves honest might not be.
I'm not sure. I'm sure I don't know what you mean, sir.
Yeah.
All right, here comes the Patra.
And on the pairings board, they're the Black Gathering Point. Once again, Flesh and Blood side event challenge players. Find your
Now
seats
cord
for
for
round
3
one.
potentially available.
River 3 available. Gonna attack in with the 2/2. Soul Cauldron, one of the most powerful cards in the deck for sure.
So powerful that Michael even has a copy.
Indeed. Michael
Whoa.
finding a third land, playing a lockdown, and a huge lockdown at that.
I kind of skimmed over this going through the deck list, but yeah, there's 2 copies main deck. You know, there's the normal stuff like a Wrath of God, a couple Winds of Abandon. That's not that weird. But I don't remember seeing these very often.
Yeah, that is tough. Now, Haywire Might is a card in Jennifer's deck. But this is definitely gonna set her back.
Quite a bit. I mean, you needed those creatures for the Court of Callings, and one of Jennifer's lands is the Takanuma too, which doesn't even make green mana.
No. An Orcish Bowmaster is going to be the draw for the turn for Jennifer. And that looks like an Abiding Grace for Michael.
Yep, this is the enchantment that allows you to do the Martyr thing.
Yep. And looks like end step here, Bowmaster is just going to ping Michael for 1. I'm going to go back to Jennifer's turn. Down really put her. But we get a second Soul Cauldron back. I don't think there's really anything to hit with it right now.
No, the Yawg got exiled, and I think Jennifer took out Michael's Martyr too.
I think did you just play a Walking Ballista for 0? Is that what that was?
I guess. Only thing that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm not sure. It's an art I don't recognize, but I'm assuming that's what happened. Put a +1/+1 counter on the Bowmaster. Swing for 3.
Got a couple things with counters, so that's representing a little bit more damage. So could potentially help you close the game a little bit quicker. Like maybe that is just the plan that Jennifer's on now.
Yeah, and gives you some answers. I mean, that's one of the great things about Yawgmoth is you can combo off, but you can also just kind of beat people down with your creatures. Looks like we are seeing a Wings of Abandon,
Yeah,
which is going to get Jennifer a basic land, which actually could do quite a bit for her.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Again, like these Path to Exile decks, they do have downsides.
Yep.
And
because now she can chord for 1, she can get the Haywire Might. She would love to get the mana to activate it immediately.
Yeah, otherwise there's that brief window where maybe Michael could have a Solitude or something.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's mana, sort of.
It counts.
It does count. And it does give her the ability to get a Wire Might and activate it.
It was like the one situation, I think, where Dryad Arbor being a summoning sick land is like, oh, it doesn't actually matter all that much. This is fine.
Yeah. It's like Honest Rusty gonna hit the board. New card, so you gotta turn it around for your opponent there. And then Blood Artist, only costing 1 mana, thanks to Rusty making it a bit cheaper. Eagles of the North getting put in the pot to give the Orc army another +1/+1 counter.
So I guess Jennifer just setting up this turn versus just trying to kill the lockdown immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And then next turn, hopefully, you get to chord for the might, kill the lockdown, and do a bunch of stuff.
Looks like a Vindicate on the Soul Cauldron.
Which is fine. There's still one under the lockdown, so.
There is.
3 Vindicates in this Martyr deck. That's a lot of those.
It's a lot of Vindicates for sure.
Along with 6 Field of Ruin effects, so yet another deck that
I
kind
think
of has
that's
like
a
a land
Boseiju
destruction.
that Jennifer just drew, which she is now looking at the creatures that are in the lockdown. She's tapping 2. I think she only actually has to pay 1 for it because
Yeah.
Rusty's a legendary creature.
Yep.
But she will get back all of these creatures.
So that gives your opponent a land but allows you to save the Court of Calling and now potentially use that to go get Yawgmoth instead.
Yep.
Which now certainly have enough creatures to court for that
Right.
thing.
Goose is gonna trigger again. The goose is loose once more.
I think Michael just needs a Solitude here.
Definitely.
Even then, I think.
Yeah, there's so many creatures on Jennifer's board at this point.
Yeah, it might not even matter.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That is a court for 4. We've got Yawgmoth. Michael does have a decent number of cards in his hand here. And you know they're all spells.
Are they weirdo martyr cards, or are they things that actually help him in this situation?
Yep. And Hapatra is going to be making snakes. Blood Artist is going to be triggering.
Yep.
And that's just going to game. Congratulations to Jennifer. Quite the game there. Unfortunate for Michael getting stuck on lands. Both players played it very well. I'm excited to see a game too.
Me too. That game was pretty interesting because it looked like it was just sort of a runaway from Jennifer because of Michael's missed land drops, and then the temporary lockdown kind of mana screwed her a little bit, but was able to play through it, which was great.
Yeah, the temporary lockdown, it's definitely huge there. Really could have turned the tide of that game. So we were watching our players board here, which let's talk about that first. Jerry, is there anything here from Michael's side that you think he is wanting to bring in against Yogg?
Well, no more lockdowns in the sideboard, but there is a lot more potential interaction depending on how he feels he wants to configure his deck. Has a couple copies of Get Lost, March of Otherworldly Light, Elish Norn, Mother of Machines, a Haywire Might of his own. There's a copy of the Stone Brain, which I don't necessarily like, but I've seen players just like bring it in matchups like this, just like take out the scariest card and hope that slows him down enough. And then another copy of Wrath of God, which I think is quite good. Pithing Needle too can either stop the Grist or the Yawgmoth. I would imagine that's coming in, but definitely a lot of options to choose from.
Pithing Needle notably got a lot weaker against Yogg once Soul Cauldron got added to the deck.
Very true.
Doesn't do much when your Yogg ability is coming from something named Wall of Roots.
Yeah, all of your creatures are Yawgmoths, but like you have to get the Yawgmoth in the graveyard, and that can be tricky sometimes, especially against like the Solitude deck. So
still effective for sure. And from Jennifer's side,
some pick your poisons. I think just a generically pretty useful card. Michael does have the One Ring, which we didn't see that game. Temporary Lockdown, you may want some amount of answers to. And the things like Abiding Grace, I don't think really matter all that much.
Yeah.
But then there's like the tutor targets: Collector Roof, Dothy Voidwalker, Endurance, Fulminator Mage, Reclamation Sage, Scavenging Ooze. Most of those are pretty reasonable. Fulminator Mage, especially, I just like doing. I don't know, against like mid-range decks, like Michael, I'm sure has a decent amount of basics. Yeah, 7 basics to go with the 6 Demolition Field of Ruin things. But I don't know. Anytime you get to take out any of like the Amirias or the Shock lands, the Surveil lands, and just like set them back on mana when they're trying to Wrath of God you, I think that's really nice.
Yeah, definitely. And we are going to get started on the game 2 here as Players are presenting decks and putting and getting ready to draw their hands, resolve these mulligans.
Then play some of the scariest one drops in Modern.
Some of the scariest one drops in Modern, indeed. I mean, we've really seen like the 4 horsemen of the one drop apocalypse here today.
Hedron Crab, Martyr of Sands, Young Wolf, Monastery Swift Spear.
Yeah,
What color are we missing?
black. Death Shadow.
Not really a one drop. I don't know if that counts. In your
Not
best draws,
really a
maybe.
one drop. I don't know. Tiny Bones? Who knows?
Tiny Bones on Rock. Try again.
It looks like Inspector for Michael on turn 1 and a fetch, possibly shock, possibly basic. Fetch shock into halfling for Jennifer.
I really like fetch shocking, even if you don't particularly need the mana fixing against the Field of Ruin deck, just to ensure that you do get basics to find off that. And we also saw like Winds of Abandon too. It's just better to keep your basics in your deck, especially since Gull's deck is not really putting you on a clock. Doesn't seem like your life total matters all that much outside of maybe the Yawgmoth scenarios.
Definitely, and we're going to see Wall of Roots come down. We see another wall and a grist in hand for Jennifer. No second land drop for her, though. Really hoping to lean on these creatures to make them mana.
Yeah, it's okay. She gets to still develop mana a little bit, but these are the scenarios you really don't want to be in against decks with sweepers, because something like a lockdown or a Wrath of God happens and you're just left with like a single overgrown tomb in play. It's kind of close to what happened in game 1, where she had a bunch of mana sources in creatures, but then after the lockdown was both mana screwed in that she was stuck on 3 and also couldn't even cast all of her spells.
Yeah, and Ranger Captain gonna get the murder here. We also saw as Michael was flipping through his deck, he did bring in the surgical extractions.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, there are 2 of those hanging out. I gotta imagine if you're trying to surgical the Yawg deck, maybe you're also trying to Stonebrain them.
It's entirely possible. We're gonna see another wall come down.
So using the Wall of Roots mana, which generally means that you're trying to spend mana on your opponent's turn also. But maybe a Court of Calling or something else.
We do see a Bowmasters in hand there.
I guess you just need the black mana for the Bowmaster. That could be it.
And looks like we're going to go ahead and main phase that.
I think that's pretty reasonable. You don't want to get reprieved necessarily, and could make the argument that, oh, you should hold it for like the One Ring or whatever. But what if they just played the One Ring and pass, and then on their end step you flash in the Bowmaster, they use the ring in response, you don't get to kill one of their creatures for free, you know?
Yep.
Kind of better to just get it down.
Michael just gonna play Martyr and pass. And Chord of Calling, the draw for turn for Jennifer. Looks like she's got at least 2 of those in her hand now.
It's not too bad. Wall of Roots Calling lets you go pretty deep.
Yeah, we do see 1 Yawgmoth in hand. We can Chord for 4. We are just going to play Yawg.
And then even if Jennifer passes, she still has access to Chord for 4.
She does. In the turn, Michael is going to be fetching here.
Just getting a Surveil land, not having any interest in activating that demolition field, but ooh, the mana open for something, because could have just like mowed Jennifer on his turn to maybe keep her off of Yawgmoth potentially. Maybe just really needing that surveil.
Yeah, perhaps. See what he is going for here. Could see something like a Wrath of God come down. It's going to be a 1-ring.
It's not bad, but Jennifer already has the Bowmaster in play, and you're basically saying that you're going to pass the turn to an opponent who has Yawgmoth on the battlefield already, which is always a scary proposition too.
Looks like a quick for 2 card. And then a Solitude in response to the chord.
I think that makes sense because otherwise Michael may not have felt comfortable enough to tap out for the 1-ring. So now what happens? Your Yawg is getting targeted with Solitude. You do have a chord for 2.
Yeah. So sacking the Orc token makes a lot of sense. Put a -1 counter on the Ranger Captain. Draw a card. Another Chord of Calling.
Yeah, I was curious how much of Jennifer's board she was going to want to sack away, but once you pick up the second chord, it's like you want every body that you could possibly have.
Yeah, absolutely. And most likely about to get 2 more. But no, that is actually
Is that a young wolf?
maybe?
Oh no, it's the oof. It's the
Oh,
oofy.
the oof.
It had ears, so I thought it might be a wolf. I saw ears and a snout.
Yeah, it is wolf-esque. But definitely that's the collector oof. Just gonna keep that 1-ring from being able to activate.
That's cool. I didn't know if the oof would come in or not,
Yeah, that is very cool.
but it looks pretty good here.
It's so wild what the Yawgmoth deck is able to achieve with 1 land.
Yeah. I mean, Wall of Roots. There was a time before all these like really busted 0 mana cards, if you can imagine it, where like Wall of Roots just seemed very powerful.
Yeah.
But this deck certainly does a good job of showcasing Wall of Roots and what it is capable of.
Yeah, absolutely. Multiple chords in Jennifer's hand. Access to a lot of tools in the toolbox. Gonna play out a Blood Artist. And is going to go ahead and pass.
We're just waiting on the chord. I think makes sense. I'm not sure if there is a great thing to chord into in response to Michael casting like a Wrath of God or something.
Yeah, it's tricky for sure, but
waiting makes sense either way.
yeah, I mean, so much of what you do with the Yawgmoth deck happens at instant speed that you often can just wait. And if he passes, maybe you can chord for a Hapatra or something like that and, you know, really get the combo going. So you do have the 2 chords in hand. We're going to see Yawg hit the board. And playing against the Yawgmoth deck, this is definitely not what you want to be seeing.
Yeah, they just continually present Yawgmoth after Yawgmoth, and you just always have to have the answer. And even if you do, you know, Jennifer just gets to like draw a couple cards on the way out if she needs some extra gas to keep going. But in this case, I mean, she's had one land the whole game. Her hand is all spells. So
And I think she drew another Young Wolf, which means I think she just gets to untap and Michael doesn't have a way to stop it. She can just win off of Blood Artist.
yeah, if Michael had something, I feel like he would have on his end step also. Not let Jennifer untap with the Yawgmoth potentially, but yeah, second Young Wolf means that you can sacrifice one Young Wolf to the Yawgmoth, -1 the Young Wolf with the counter on it. Those counters cancel out, and those just bounce in and out of play. Blood Artist triggers every time.
And that is going to be game. Congratulations to Jennifer. Just a great display of what the Yawgmoth deck can do. She piloted it so well. I mean, winning that game 2 with just one land, that really shows the kind of power that you have and the versatility and resilience of the Yawgmoth deck.
Yeah, she played great. Michael did what he could, but kind of had some mana issues and is also probably not the best matchup for a deck like Martyr to queue into necessarily. Like you do have some stuff that matters with all the sweepers and whatnot, but trying to keep the Yawgmoth deck down is a pretty tall order.
Yeah, congratulations, Jennifer. Gonna be 6-0 going into the next round. We do have our backup match ready, and I am excited to get into that. We are going to have 5-color creativity versus Amulet Titan. Oh, and we already see turn 1 Saga Amulet.
That's good. I was talking about how Mill was one of the scariest matchups for Amulet or for creativity before, but Amulet is also kind of up there and is certainly more popular than Mill. But I'm looking at the deck list now, and this creativity deck is kind of wild. There are no Archon of Cruelties here. We are just looking at one Iona, one Emrakul, the Aeon's Torn.
Oh, that is kind of wild. So do you have the Bitter Reunions in here?
Yeah, Iona's certainly quite good against amulets. Emrakul, I mean, if you get to untap with it, that is certainly going to be more effective at closing the game against amulet than an Archon of Cruelty is. So if the game does get to that point, I like this creativity deck spot more so than the Archon version.
Leyline Binding on turn 2, getting rid of that amulet. Very nice, very effective. Looks like we're having a judge call, possibly. Not sure what it's about, but sure our judges will get it.
What happens when I Vesuva my Saga? Oh, okay.
Just getting a piece of paper.
That makes
Sure.
more sense.
Yep.
I would hope that it's round 6 of the tournament, and I know Patrick. Patrick is quite good also. That you would know how this interaction works.
Yeah. So Vesuva going to enter as a copy of any land.
So yeah, 2 sagas now. The first amulet gets dealt with, but you know that more are on the way.
Yeah. Yeah. More on the way, just moments away. We are going to write down, or is a saga on this piece of paper so no one forgets and the board is clearly represented, and pass back over.
We have a new blue edition to scariest one drop ever, and that is hard evidence. Suggestion 3, 2 of them, lights out.
It's true. It's true. We've got these 0-3 crabs.
And a lot of clues.
We've got clues.
Ragavan, not in my house. Block.
No way. Not with these walls.
I've played a lot of creativity, and Dave Shields has not let me register hard evidence once. And I really want to. I've tried multiple times. I do love the card. I do think it is pretty good, fairly strong, definitely underrated. And I love seeing players who are confident enough in themselves and like their own ability to be like, no one else is playing this, but I think it is good enough. And I'm just going to, pull the trigger here and just do things my way. So 3 copies of Hard Evidence, no Archon of Cruelty. I love this.
I mean, makes 2 tokens for you, makes sense. Our Urza's Saga is going to resolve here. Gonna get the amulet on the board. Also gonna be floating 1 colorless mana, looks like. There's a lot that Titan can do from this position.
Yeah, it's scary. You're always living in fear of like, oh, can they kill me?
Yeah, I mean, they can just get it together so quickly, and so out of nowhere, we're gonna see another Vesuva coming in as another copy of Urza's Saga here. And of course, this one will get to untap.
Multiple Vesuvas.
Yeah, it looks like these are both the Vesuvas in the deck.
Yep. I don't keep up enough with the minutia of the Amulet deck list. Like I'm not in the Amulet Discord or anything. And so just occasionally things like this happen and I'm just like, I don't know why they're doing it. It's probably right. There's like 100 people who do nothing but jam this deck all day every day and they have made this choice. So I'm just going to believe in them.
Yeah, I trust that the eggheads in the lab for Amulet know what they're doing. And we are going to see creativity off of the dwarf token here as we flip through the deck and do hit that Imracool.
Did you see that reaction from Patrick? He was not expecting one.
How could you?
That's what I'm saying. After the Hard Evidence lands, you should know your opponent's up to something.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have an answer for this, what do you do?
Yeah, whereas if this were an Archon of Cruelty, you're just like, all right, I got a few turns. No big deal.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, as the Titan player, you're really under a lot of pressure now to pop off this turn.
But with all these Vesuvas, all these sagas, gonna get the second amulet. Patrick picked up a bounce land that turn also. I saw a Primeval Titan in hand. I don't know if he necessarily needed the bounce land to pop off or anything, but he's got 6 mana and 2 amulets and a Titan.
Yeah, it's not nothing.
What do you do against an Eldrazi, though?
Well,
Can you
that's tough.
actually kill through that?
Yeah, that is very tough.
Can we put in enough permanents that we're able to chump block with Arboreal Grazer? I
Oh,
guess Patrick's still 20, so maybe
yeah.
you don't need the chump block, but
That poor Grazer having to tank the 15/15.
it knows what its job is. There's an MH3 card that I think Grazer is also going to tank a decent amount. It's like a cultivate that you can sacrifice a green creature to play for free.
Yeah, definitely a situation where Grazer knows the deal
Yeah,
when it got into your deck.
everyone thought you were unplayable, and look, now you're a star. But if you want to be a star, these are the things that you have to do.
It comes at a cost.
Yeah.
Alright, we are seeing Titan hit the board here. Gonna grab a couple lands.
One's going to be a mirror pool. I knew about this one already.
Yeah, Mirror Pool and a bounce land.
Cedric Phillips was asking me to borrow mirror pool at the RC in Denver.
Alright, that's gonna make a copy of them.
And I like this edition. A little bit cleaner than having to get Teleria West, bounce it, tribute it, Summoner's Pact.
Mhm.
Get Slayer Stronghold Boros Garrison, couple Amulet triggers, get to haste up both the Titan and the Titan copy. And now you have a Karoo trigger.
I mean, Patrick is making a lot of permanents, and he's about to make some more.
Yeah, I guess he had not resolved the first one from the first Titan. Like
Sure.
you get Karoo Mirror Pool with 2 amulets, you double tap, and then you tap and sack in response to the first Karoo trigger. So now these Titans are attacking.
Yeah, very interested to see what he's gonna pull out here. If he's gonna be able to live through this Emrakul.
Yeah, it's just tough because there are those crabs over there too. Like that's not nothing.
It's not nothing. They can, I mean, just like the grazer, the crabs know what the job is here.
Exactly.
Now we are going to see a Valakut come down,
Yeah, Teleria West,
as well as a
maybe.
Teleria West.
Yeah, Patrick's still looking, still in the tank as to what can I actually do here?
Seiju. Then an Urza's Saga.
Oh,
Odawara on the Emrakul is
forgot
gonna
about that
cause
one.
a scoop.
Forgot about that one.
Wow.
Yeah, normally you would have to search up
Hmm.
with the best land, pick it up. Patrick just had it.
Yeah, what a game one. I mean, very exciting to see this creativity get to get the Emrakul on board. And then the Odawara. I mean, that was the turn that Titan needed to go off and win. And that's exactly what happened. And that
Yeah,
is the threat of Amulet Titan every turn.
yeah, and creativity has one Emrakul, one Iona, and a coin flip as to which one that you hit. You might think that maybe Emrakul is the more threatening one, but maybe the Iona would have actually been better in that situation. I don't know, because Patrick would have gotten to Odawara it immediately, but then kind of what are you doing? You give the creativity player another turn to untap, and
Mhm. Yeah, well, we are going into game two here. Taking a
uh,
look at the sideboards real quick. And see
yeah,
if there's anything
see,
exciting to bring in.
see some cool stuff from the creativity deck. Not that surprising given what we've seen already, but uh, the only additional creatures are 2 copies of Sarah's Emissary, which I don't think you want here. But there's also a couple copies of Tail's End, and maybe that is good. I don't know, but also
Tails very interesting.
very flexible. I guess counters an Odawara if you're really scared about that. But
Does counter an Odawara.
a couple with hair, I think
Mm-hmm.
those are a little clunky, but generally pretty good against Amulet. You're going to get uses out of both sides. And I don't know. Circular Extraction, Turn the Earth, Hollow Moonlight, Doan's Veto, Ray of Revelation. Spicy cards, but not super helpful here.
And on the Titan side,
So, Patrick has a copy of Splunking main deck. There are also 3 more copies in the sideboard. I have
mm-hmm.
I have asked a few people why. It's like my initial reaction is just like, is this as more amulets in matchup where they're getting kind of blown up? And no one could give me a very straightforward answer. So I think creativity is one of those matchups where you can anticipate your opponent pretty aggressively going after your amulets. So if that is the case, I guess maybe the Splunkings are supposed to come in here. I don't know. But couple of Norns, couple Dismembers, couple Pick Your Poisons, and then some random tutor targets that are not super helpful. But this is certainly one of the decks where I think that you are generally better service under sideboarding rather than over sideboarding. So I think that that's fine. There's not a ton to actually in here and help you. Also,
Sure, yeah.
also your matchup just already is kind of solid. So how much help do you actually need?
Yeah, very true. Well, interested to see how these players board against each other as they are shuffling up, getting ready for game 2 here.
It is kind of interesting though, because you see things like the Emrakul and the hard evidences. You know that your opponent's not a normal creativity deck, but you don't know what that means for you exactly because the deck is still 5 colors, could be presenting any amount of different cards that are legal in modern, which there are a lot. So I don't know how that changes things, or if you just kind of put your head down and board how you normally board against a regular creativity deck and just hope that it works out.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, Amulet players, especially the ones who like really just grind Amulet and really know it in and out, uh, feels like they've got a little bit of a plan for everything. Um, Not sure how Pat's going to approach this, but seeing some pretty powerful cards here. Turn 1, we're going fetch land, go. Looks like playing Beseiju as land for turn to get Grazer out.
And how long do you get to live, Grazer? You know the clock is ticking.
And then a Valakut as the land coming in from the Grazer, fetching a Triome.
So this is Savai, I believe, which is the Mardu Triome, which is interesting because the only other land is Base Island. Yep, and there it is. So creativity player has a Ren and 6 in hand, but the basics that they're playing are a plains and an island.
Yeah, that's tough for sure. And we are going to see an Explore from the Titan player here. Looks like gonna play a bounce land, replay Beseiju, and get the Amulet on board. And it's going to immediately get Leyline Binding. We're going to see an expressive iteration.
Finds land number 3 off that, which is exactly what the creativity deck was looking for.
Yep.
But it's still tough. Amulet deck has a bunch of mana available to it.
Is that a Spell Pierce on the One Ring?
Yeah, looks
Yeah, I
like it.
think so.
Secret Lair, Spell Pierce. But again, has to fetch Steam Vents to cast the Spell Pierce, which does not cast the Ren and 6. But now you're getting closer to 4 mana, so maybe you don't even need Ren 6 all that much. Maybe it's not a big deal, but that island is going to slow things down a little bit because you can't just be freely fetching Dwarven Mines and whatnot. So at some point, you do have to put a token in play as sacrificial fodder.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like we have a Scalding Tarn in hand, another expressive iteration, Ren and Sixes that are just sort of stuck in hand at the moment. And gonna go ahead and play another EI.
Hmm.
And we've got the Teferi, the Creativity, and a Mine off of that.
Iteration leaving up basic islands too. Certainly limits options for what you can do with the rest of your turn.
Mhm, mhm. Some really tough decisions here on which of these cards is going where.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's all cards you already have copies of. You know,
Yeah,
there's already a Teferi and a Creativity in your hand. So like, which one do you want the backup of? And also, if you want to get 2 cards from the iteration, you have to choose the Dwarven Mine as the exiled card. But like, is that even card that you want to play this turn, or is it better to put the Dwarven Mine in your hand? Yeah,
and just get rid of the other 2 cards. Totally reasonable, well-disciplined play there.
for sure.
And that's gonna be a Titan.
It is a Titan, but no Amulet, so it
No,
is
and it's scary.
fair. It is
Mhm.
fair, but yeah, still very scary, especially if you have to let your opponent untap again after that.
Yeah, and, that's the really frightening thing against Amulet Titan decks is every turn you give them feels like it could be the last one.
Absolutely.
And
It
even if this Titan doesn't stick, they're still getting 2 of their lands, still getting a
yeah.
lot of options.
I think the upside, I guess, is that you can infer a little bit from what Patrick has going on, depending on what lands he searches up here.
And it looks like bounce land Otawara to send the Otawara back. I think I saw Pick Your Poison in that brief flash of the hand that we saw there, which is going to be very effective against everything that can be creativity out.
Sort of. It doesn't stop the Iona, but I think that's why Patrick picked up the Otawara. Is like now he just has all of his bases covered, right?
Sure.
No matter what
Yep.
happens.
Yeah, putting creativity in a very awkward spot here.
And now they have 3 mountains in place. A Dwarven Mine will make a token, so could just fire off creativity this turn. But do you actually want to do that when you know your opponent already has Otawara, and then they're just going to attack you with Primeval Titan again?
Yep. And we're going to play Teferi, bounce the Titan, play the mine, get the token.
Now has green mana, so could finally deploy Ren and 6 with the last mana.
That is going to happen. We're going to see Ren and 6 hit the board here. And we are going to uptick, get a land back to hand.
Maybe not the most relevant at this part of the game, but it is kind of like creativity security blanket where you just know from every turn on out you're going to be able to make your land drop. You're going to have access to a token whenever you want it via fetching Dwarven Mine.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever draw anything like Bitter Reunion or Fable of the Mirror Breaker, like you have plenty of things to pitch to those cards. But actually, I guess not.
Casting Pick Your Poison to get rid of the Leyline Binding, getting the Amulet back on board
Mm,
as Titan gets deployed.
that's good. That's powerful.
That is quite powerful.
I mentioned Fable of the Mirror Breaker, but now looking at the deck list, you know what card is not present in Juan's deck?
Oh,
There are no
wow.
fables.
No Fables. 4 Bindings, 2 Bitter Reunions, and a Dress Down.
Often referred to as the best card in the deck. But is able to kind of cobble together what Fable is trying to do for you with Iteration and Hard Evidence, which are just cheaper cards.
Yeah.
So I guess won't be filtering with that, but also probably won't be getting many more turns here.
Probably not. We are going to see Vesuva bounce land.
Oh,
Oh,
thought
just
thought that was the Slayer stronghold, I guess.
there we go. That makes a bit more sense.
Now attacking for 8, has a choice of if you want to go face or maybe take out one of these planeswalkers.
And now we are getting Vesuva.
Too many choices in this deck.
So many choices. Vesuva and another bounce land. Bouncing the Boseiju back.
So Vesuva copied the Valakut, and yeah, Derida the Elysian Grove in hand.
Mm-hmm.
I assume one land drop is left over.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well plus the one from the Dryad, sure.
Right. Yeah. So
That's 12 to finish the game off.
yeah, that is tough, but good games, great match. Congratulations to Patrick, our Amulet player.
I told you,
For
Patrick, quite good.
yeah, I mean both players played that very well. The Amulet deck is scary for sure.
Yeah, you killed their amulet, you bounced the Primeval Titan back to their hands, kind of turtled up a little bit behind a couple planeswalkers, you pass the turn, you just die. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we are going to take a quick break, but we'll be back very soon for more magic, so definitely stay tuned.